Amidst the vast, sunset-hued savanna, where life and death walk hand in hand, a small fire flickers, illuminating both sorrow and fragile glimmers of hope. 5 individuals have fallen victim to disease, guardians of the green forest gone forever. But within this mournful scene, another story begins, a silent plea from the wild. The twilight painted the expansive savanna in hues of red. The sky resembled a vibrant peach silk, dotted with faint streaks of purple fading towards the horizon. The air was eerily still, broken only by the gentle rustling of dry branches in the breeze and the tiny crackling of the burning fire. 6 men stood silently, each with a pensive expression. They wore the familiar khaki uniforms of the forest rangers, wide-brimmed hats shading their weathered, sun-beaten faces. Deep lines etched on their countenances told tales of arduous days spent facing dangers in this wilderness. Jack, standing at the center, was distinguished by his salt and pepper hair and a short, ash-gray beard. His eyes, though marked by time, still held a resolute and deeply sorrowful gaze. Before them, on crude wooden stretchers, lay 5 bodies covered with white cloths. Their still forms evoked an irreplaceable loss. The small fire flickering nearby cast dancing shadows on the red earth, creating a scene of mourning and heaviness. The story began with unusual rainy days, creating favorable conditions for mosquitoes to breed. A dangerous mutation of the dengue virus unexpectedly appeared in a remote village near the conservation area. Initially, there were only symptoms of high fever and severe joint pain, but the disease progressed rapidly, causing severe internal bleeding and claiming the lives of the healthiest individuals within days. Local medical staff did their best, but the rapid spread and complex progression of the disease overwhelmed them. 5 men, the pillars of their families, tragically fell victim to this terrible epidemic. Upon receiving news of the serious situation, Jack and his team of rangers set off immediately. Their duty was not only to protect wildlife but also to support local communities in times of need. When they arrived, the once peaceful village was desolate and silent. Houses were closed and quiet, devoid of the usual sounds of laughter and daily activity. Jack and his colleagues coordinated with medical personnel to move the sick to isolation areas and assist with disease prevention efforts. However, the pain of loss hung heavy in the air. 5 men had succumbed to the illness, leaving behind broken families and immeasurable grief. Today, Jack and his team had come to take the bodies of the deceased to their final resting place. They carefully wrapped each person in a white cloth, with deep respect and compassion. The fire was lit not only to ward off wild animals but also as a ritual to send off the souls of the departed according to local customs. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a soft, worried growl. From the edge of the forest, a lioness emerged. Her sandy yellow fur was slightly rough, and remarkably, she was gently carrying a small lion cub in her mouth. The cub appeared motionless, its body limp. The mother lion's amber eyes were fixed on the fire and the men, reflecting fear and a plea for help. Jack and the others stared in astonishment at the scene before them. They were accustomed to lions avoiding humans, so what had driven this lioness to risk approaching them, carrying her cub? Upon closer observation, they noticed a large wound on the cub's back, as if scratched by sharp claws. Jack surmised that the cub had likely become the target of a martial eagle, a formidable bird of prey in the African skies, known for its strength and ferocity when protecting its territory or hunting. The mother lion had probably tried to defend her cub but failed, and now, in desperation, she was seeking help from the only creatures she saw nearby, the rangers. The fire they had lit initially to deter wild animals and perform the ritual for the deceased had now become a signal, a destination for the mother lion's pain and plea. The lioness approached closer, lowered herself, and gently placed the cub on the ground. She let out a soft, mournful growl, then looked at Jack and his team with pleading eyes. They could clearly see the extreme anxiety and sacred maternal love in those amber eyes. Jack, though still grieving the loss of his comrades, couldn't help but be moved by this sight. He understood the desperation of a mother when her child was in danger. Although humans and lions belonged to different worlds, maternal love was a universal language that all living beings could understand. He gestured for the others to keep their distance and observe. They didn't know if the mother lion would act aggressively to protect her cub. However, her pleading gaze seemed to reassure them. Jack slowly approached the lion cub. He examined the wound on its back, a deep and wide scratch. He knew that without prompt treatment, the cub was unlikely to survive. In that moment, the difference between human and beast seemed to vanish. Jack no longer saw a dangerous wild animal, but only a mother desperate for her child. He decided to help. Cautiously, Jack retrieved the first aid kit he carried. He and a colleague slowly approached the cub, trying to clean the wound and stop the bleeding. The mother lion remained still, watching their every move. It seemed she understood that these men were trying to help her cub. After providing initial treatment to the cub's wound, Jack knew they needed to take it to a safer place with better care facilities. He looked at the mother lion, trying to communicate with his eyes, conveying his intention to help. The ranger's truck was still there, ready to take the deceased back to base. Jack signaled to his colleagues to prepare a safe space in the vehicle to take the mother lion and her cub along. As they gently lifted the cub into the truck, the mother lion followed closely, never leaving its side. She seemed to have placed her complete trust in these men. The fire continued to smolder, now not only a farewell flame but also a witness to a touching moment of maternal love and interspecies compassion. Jack and the others sat in the truck, their hearts heavy with the sorrow of loss but also filled with a small glimmer of hope. They couldn't save their comrades, but perhaps they could save a small life in this wild world. After being taken to the Wildlife Rescue Center, the lion cub immediately received dedicated care from the veterinarians. The wound on its back was cleaned and treated with antibiotics to prevent infection. The cub was still weak and appeared frightened after the attack, so the rescue staff created a quiet, warm space for it to rest. The mother lion stayed constantly by her cub's side, her eyes never leaving it, showing her worry and protectiveness. In the following days, the lion cub gradually recovered. It began to eat again with encouragement from the staff and the dedicated care of its mother. The wound on its back healed, and its steps became steadier. The mother lion also gradually calmed down but remained vigilant towards those around her, truly relaxing only when her cub was stronger. The veterinarians closely monitored the recovery of both mother and cub. They ensured that the cub had fully recovered and was strong enough to return to its natural environment. During their time at the center, they tried to minimize human contact as much as possible to avoid the cub becoming habituated to humans, which could be dangerous for it when it returned to the wild. Once the cub was completely healthy and strong enough to defend itself, the rescue staff began planning for their release back into the wild. The chosen area was a safe zone within the conservation area, with abundant food sources and a low risk of human conflict. One early morning, as mist still hung over the blades of grass, the vehicle carrying the mother and cub headed towards the release area. Jack and a few rescue staff accompanied them, ensuring the process went smoothly. When the cage door opened, the mother lion cautiously stepped out, sniffing the familiar air of the wild. Immediately after, the cub timidly followed its mother. Jack and the others watched from a distance. The mother lion gently licked the cub's head, and then they both moved towards the green thickets. They paused for a moment, as if to feel the freedom after their days at the rescue center. Then, the mother lion led her cub deeper into the forest, disappearing among the trees. Jack breathed a sigh of relief. They had done their best, and now, the mother and cub had a chance to start a new life in their natural environment. He knew their journey wouldn't be easy, but at least they had given them a second chance. The fire they had lit beside their fallen comrades now seemed to burn brighter with the hope of life and the resilience of nature. Rescuing the lion cub was also a way to honor those who had fallen, those who were always dedicated to protecting life in this land. The story of the twilight fire, of the fallen rangers, and the desperate mother lion seeking help paints a multifaceted picture of life and loss, of the sacred maternal love that transcends all species barriers. It reminds us of the fragility of life, of the unexpected dangers from nature, but also ignites faith and compassion and the miraculous connection between humans and the wild world. Even in the face of loss, the spirit of protecting life always burns fiercely. What are your thoughts on this story? Is maternal love truly a universal language that all living beings understand? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy touching and meaningful stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos.